I'm just going to start some breathing. Letting your hands rest gently on your thighs. Bringing your gaze soft, eyes closed if you'd like. Our inhale, we're going to bring our breath into our belly. And on our exhale, let the belly fall. Filling our belly like a balloon and letting it deflate. And you may notice some tension there. If you are a belly clencher like myself. And with each breath, just press against that tension. Gently. And then letting it go. Continuing to breathe into the belly. Making sure our spine is nice and long. We want to be relaxed, but not collapsed. So our bellies can fill and release. And that's what our practice tonight is for. Releasing and letting go. Letting go of tension. Releasing muscles. And at the same time, letting go of and releasing anything that's no longer serving us. We're constantly bombarded with this idea of adding to ourselves. Be more, do more. But for now, it's time to release. And let all that stuff go. Filling the belly with air and letting it go. Letting it out, an audible sigh, if that feels good to you. Letting out the day. Letting out your negative self-talk. Your fears. Your judgments. Just let them all go. And then gently removing the cushion, the blanket, or whatever you may have placed underneath you. Off to the side. And slowly coming to our hands and knees. Letting our knees drift a little bit wide, big toes touching. Sinking our hips back towards our heels, letting go into our child's pose. Forearm and forehead resting on the floor. Still breathing into the belly. Feeling it gently press against the inner thighs. Letting it all go. And then gently moving our hips from side to side. And as we do that, letting the head sway from side to side, massaging that third eye, that center of intuition and wisdom. What is it telling you to let go of tonight? What are you going to release onto the mat? And then coming back to center, lifting that forehead and forearms off the mat from just to fingertips, staying nice and low, spine nice and long. We're going to crawl our fingertips out to the right side of our mat. Let that left arm extend all the way out. Right arm comes behind the back. And we're going to sink into that left hip as we gaze out underneath our left armpit. Feeling a stretch in that left side body. Waking up the spine. And breathing. Releasing that right arm from behind the back, crossing it over, crawling our fingertips over to the left side of our mat. Right arm all the way across, left arm behind the back, and sinking into that right hip, gazing out underneath that right armpit. Breathing here. Releasing back to center, coming up to our hands and knees, our tabletop position. Aligning our shoulders over wrists, hips over our knees. I'm gonna do a little spinal twisting, and I'm gonna mirror you. So first we'll face away as you lift your right arm toward the sky, twisting, gazing up at it. And then we're gonna bring that right arm underneath the belly, keeping it up in the air and just pressing through to twist. And raising that arm back toward the sky, counter twist. And scooping it under the belly, pressing through. One last time, lifting that arm toward the sky, gazing up towards fingertips, twisting. And on this last twist, we're going to run our arm down across the mat, bending that left elbow and resting the side of the head on the mat. As we sink into this twist, we're going to do a quick hip check. Move those hips over to the right a little bit to keep that spine in line. And breathe into this twist. And then we're releasing back to hands and knees. Do that on the other side. So first we'll face each other and then away. Lifting that left arm towards the sky to a twist. And scooping it underneath and pressing it through. Lifting it towards the sky, counter twist. And scooping it underneath and pressing it through. Final one, lifting that arm toward the sky. And now slide that arm along the floor, bending our right elbow and letting the side of our head rest on the mat. Quick hip check, shift them over to the left a little bit, deepening the twist. Breathing. And then coming back to our neutral, hands and knees, tabletop position. I'm going to do a little cat-cow flow. with a breath release. So first we're going to round the belly and press the spine towards the sky into our cat, pressing through hands. Press, 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 press. Bring that breath in. And then drop the belly, lift hip and heart into cow pose. Just breathe here for a minute into our release, keeping the spine nice and long, not craning the neck back. And then on your inhale, rounding the belly, pressing the spine toward the sky, press, 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 bring it all in, all in, all in, and drop that belly into our cow. One last time, inhale, round the belly and press the spine toward the sky, press, 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 and release. All right, staying in our tabletop, we're tucking our toes underneath. Just do a quick stretch, the bottoms of the feet and the wrists. So we're gonna sink our hips toward our heels to stretch out the bottoms of our feet. You may feel it in one more than the other, I always do. And then moving forward, we're gonna extend the shoulders out beyond the wrists to stretch them out. This is a great stretch for us keyboard warriors. And sinking the hips back toward the heels again, stretching up those feet. And pressing forward and moving the shoulders beyond the wrists. And coming back to neutral, keeping the toes tucked. We're going to come into our first downward dog of the class. And if you're long like me, you might want to move your hands out just slightly in front of you. And pressing into the feet, lifting the knees off the floor and pressing the hips toward the sky, coming into our downward facing dog. From here, any movement you want to do is just fine. You might want to bend one knee and then the other, just pedaling out the feet. You can move your hips from side to side if that feels good to you. Wag that dog. Move your neck to release it. Whatever movement helps you release these muscles. And just coming into a static downward facing dog. Just breathing here. And with soft knees, we're going to walk our feet gently toward our hands. When we get there, we're going to keep the feet just about hip distance apart. And we're going to keep the knees really, really soft. And we're going to let our torso just kind of drape over our thighs. In this forward fold, we're not trying to stretch and reach toward our feet. We're just trying to release the spine. For more sensation, you can grab opposite elbows. And then just breathe here. If you're at your desk all day and your spine is compressed, this is a beautiful way to put some space in between your vertebrae. I could honestly stay here all day. Relax. Release your hands back down to the mat, keeping the knees very soft and the spine very, very long. And hinge from the hips and lift all the way to standing, arms out to sides, raise them all the way up above your head, let them touch. And then slide those hands down to your heart center. And just take a moment here in mountain pose. Feel your feet grounded into the earth. Let your spine and the crown of your head stretch toward the heavens. And honor that you exist in the space between. Inhale, we're gonna release the hands down and around and all the way up. And hinging from the hips. Holding all the way down. And just letting gravity do the work here again. We're gonna come into a halfway lift. So we're gonna lift our spine into an L shape. Hands can be on shins or thighs or fingertips to the mat, whatever you're comfortable with. And here we're just going to shift our hips side to side, wagging the dog a little bit. Very soft knees. We're just kind of opening up backs of the legs so they can release any tension. And then releasing our palms to the mat, keeping our knees nice and bent and soft. Stepping one foot back, and then the other. Coming into our plank pose. Long line of energy from heel to head. Long spine. And just bending at the elbows, keeping them nice and tucked in. We're gonna lower all the way down to the mat. Release the toes, keep the hands where they are. Rest that forehead on the mat. Take a breath here. And on our inhale, we're gonna press into our hands and lift the head and chest just off the mat into a nice back bend. Again, keeping the spine nice and long, not compressing the neck. This is our cobra pose. Cobra reminds us to shed as it sheds its skin. You can inhale, and as you exhale, release back down to the mat. Take a breath here. Pressing again into the hands, lifting up into cobra, maybe a little bit further this time, keeping those elbows tucked in and shoulders away from the ears. And release. One last time, pressing into hands. Maybe we come all the way up. Maybe not. Again, elbows tucked in. Shoulders away from ears, and release. From here, we're going to slide our hands back toward our waist a little bit, pressing up to hands and knees, but just keep it going and sinking into our child's pose. Again, our practice tonight is about releasing. What do you have to let go of? What is no longer serving you? And back up to our hands and knees. We're going to do a very unsexy transition. I'm going to be mirroring you again. So you're going to bring your left foot between hands into a low lunge. Make sure that your knee is either above your ankle or slightly behind, never further than. And if you want to extend, you can shimmy your right leg back a little bit. Just staying on our fingertips here, letting our hips open up. In our hips, we hold a lot of trauma and emotion, sort of trapped energy. So when we release and let go, it's important to open up the hips. I'm going to come to a flat palm on that right hand, making sure that shoulder's just above the wrist. You're going to take your left hand and press open the left leg a little bit. So coming to the outer edge of your left foot, opening up the hip. If you want to extend your torso away from it a little bit to enhance the stretch. Be my guest. And then coming back to our neutral low lunge, we're just gonna shift our hips back toward our right heel a little bit. Do a bit of a hamstring stretch to loosen up the back of the left leg and also give the right knee a little bit of a break. We're gonna go back to our low lunge. So let's press forward into that low lunge and come up a little bit. Again, unsexy transitions. We're gonna do what I like to call an arrow release. Some of you may have seen me do this before. We're gonna take what's not serving us. We're gonna load it up into a bow and release that arrow. So bring our arms forward and together. So we're loading our arrow onto our bow. Making a fist with the left hand. We're gonna draw that bow back to your shoulder. Take whatever that is, your negative self-talk, your doubt, your fear, your jealousy, your judgment, and let that shit go. So we're releasing into a twist. And twists are very detoxifying, so they're helping your body physically let go to what you no longer need. And do that again. So we're going to bring our arms forward to load up the bow. Bring that bow back toward our shoulder and release to open. One last time. Load it, draw it back, and let it go. And you can bring your hands down to the mat and let's sink back into child's pose for just a second. Give our hips a chance to relax. And coming back up, we're just going to do that on the other side. So once again, very unsexy transition into low lunge with our right foot forward. You can heel toe it to extend back here, making sure that knee is over the ankle. Just feeling that stretch in the left psoas. Feeling yourself open up. Breathing into it. And then coming to our left palm, shoulder over wrist, we're going to press our right knee open a little bit, coming to the outer edge of that foot, opening both hips, leaning back to elongate that stretch. And then coming back to our neutral low lunge, we're shifting our hips back toward that heel, coming into that hamstring stretch and giving the kneecap a little break. And then pressing forward back into low lunge, coming upright. Arrow release on this side. Bring those arms forward to load that bow. This time our right hand makes the fist. Draw it back toward the shoulder and release into the twist. Two more. Drawing our arms forward. Bring that fist back toward the shoulder and release. Draw it forward. Bring it back to the shoulder and release. And now we can come down to our child's pose. Breathing and releasing. Just be here in this moment, letting it all go. Now we're coming back up to our hands and knees, tucking into those toes and pressing the hips toward the sky into our downward facing dog. Now again, release the neck, pedal out the feet, shift the hips. My neck is always tense, and this is my favorite. You're gonna do a standing flow and I'll be facing you and mirroring. So please bring your right foot in between hands. Spin your left foot flat so that it's parallel to the back of the mat. We're gonna windmill through that right arm all the way up to our warrior three, making sure we're not sinking into the hips, staying very lifted, elongated and aligned. Knee is either over the ankle or slightly back. And arms to the sides and gazing out over our right fingertips. I'm going to do another release flow. So as we inhale, we're going to straighten our right knee and bring our arms all the way up. Bring in whatever it is we need to release. And as we exhale, let it go. Back into our warrior two. And again, inhale, bring it all in. Maybe it's the negative self-talk. Maybe it's our self-doubt. And let it go. Because we are warriors. Inhale, bring it in. And let it go. Beautiful. Reversing our warrior, we're going to bring our left arm down along the back of our leg and lift our right arm over top into a side stretch. And then a counter pose coming into side angle, bringing the right forearm down on our thigh, and the left arm over top. You may feel the hip opening in this pose. And once more, reversing the warrior, left arm down, right arm up. And side angle, forearm on thigh, left arm over top. Last one, reverse, right arm over top. And side angle, forearm on thigh, left arm over top. And then we're gonna come back up into our warrior two, straightening into that right leg, bringing the right foot parallel to the left. Hands on hips, we're hinging and folding. You don't have to go all the way down, just come to our fingertips, spine nice and long. We're just gonna flow side to side, open up those hips. So bending into the right knee and shifting a little bit to the right, making sure our fingertips are holding us up. And then bending into the left knee, shifting over to the left. And just flowing side to side, coming to the right. And then coming to the left. And back to center. We're gonna move that left foot toward the back of the mat. Fingertips over on either side of that left foot. Bending into that knee and windmilling upright into warrior two on this side. Again, making sure our hips are aligned, we're not sinking into it. Gaze out over those left fingertips. Warrior release on this side. So straightening into that knee and bringing the arms above us. Inhale. Exhale, letting all of that go. Into warrior two. And again, inhale, bring it all in. Exhale, letting it go. One last time, bring it all in. And then letting it go. Beautiful. Reversing our warrior, this time bringing the right arm down along the back leg and left arm over top. And side angle, bringing that forearm down along the thigh and right arm over top. Feel it in those hips. And reverse, right arm down, left arm up. And side angle, forearm on thigh, right arm over top. One last time, reverse. And then side angle. Beautiful. All right, coming back up to our warrior two. I'm gonna straighten that left leg. Shift that right heel back toward the corner of the mat a little bit. Extending our torso out over that left leg. Keeping a nice long line of energy here. And when we've reached our edge, rotate those shoulders to stack. Your fingertips can be on your shin, behind you, in front of you. If you want to just hang out right here, that's fine too. Into our triangle pose. It's a beautiful way to open up the hips and the side body. And from here, let's bring that right arm down toward the mat. We're gonna bring the left foot parallel to the right and just fingertip it over. So that right foot, turning it to face the front of the mat. Shifting that left heel toward the back corner of the mat, and then we're just gonna stack the shoulders into triangle on this side. Breathing into it. And then we're just gonna bring those left fingertips down toward the mat. Very unsexy transition. Come down to the left knee. Bring the right knee back and sink into our child's pose. And breathe here. Again, breathing into belly and letting yourself feel the sensation of your belly pressing against the thighs. It's all just a body. And then slowly rolling up, sitting on heels. Coming up right into hero's pose. Just breathing here. Yet another unsexy transition. Just shift down to one hip. Swing our legs out in front of us. Coming into a seated position. Moving our meat away from our seat and feeling the sits bones ground into the earth. Hands gently on either side of the hips. Feet nice and flexed. Crown reaching. Feeling grounded into the earth. Reaching toward the heavens. And existing in the space between. Coming into seated forward fold. You want to keep the knees nice and soft. So if you want to shift your heels back a little bit so that the knees stay bent, you kind of create a shelf for your torso. I invite you to do so. And then hinging, shifting our pelvis forward a little bit. We're just hinging. We're not rounding into this. We're just hinging, keeping our spine nice and long. Breathing. And if it feels okay, as we breathe and release, maybe shifting those heels forward a little bit, bringing the legs closer to straight. Finding our edge and honoring it. And then releasing back up to seated. Doing some seated twists. Again, I'm going to mirror you. So you want to bring your left foot over top of your right leg, keeping your right foot very flexed. Hand coming just behind the hip, lifting into the spine. Bring our right arm toward the sky and twisting with our torso to the left And then bring that elbow on the outside of the knee to complete that twist as we gaze out over that left shoulder. Once again, these twists are allowing our internal organs to let go. It's not serving our bodies. And releasing back to center, letting the left leg go, bringing that right foot over top of the left foot very flexed. Hand just behind the hip. Lift that left arm toward the sky, twisting from the torso and then dropping that elbow to the outside of the knee and completing that twist as we gaze over our right shoulder. Breathing into it. And releasing. You want to shift your hips forward a little bit so they're kind of in the middle of the mat so you have room because we're laying down. So hugging the hips in, hugging the knees in and rolling back down onto our back. Keeping those knees hugged in. Just rocking from side to side, letting go, letting the muscles in the low back release. And then let's bring our feet toward the floor. I'm going to lift our right foot to the sky and bring that right ankle to the left thigh, just by the knee. A gentle pigeon stretch. Pressing that right thigh out a little bit to open up the hip. And breathe. And releasing that thigh, crossing the leg over and dropping both those knees to the left. Arms to a T and gazing out toward the right. Breathe. And bringing it all back to center, releasing the right foot back to the mat. Bring that left foot to sky, bending the knee, placing it above the right thigh. Gently pressing outward, opening up that hip. Breathing into it. Releasing that thigh, letting that leg cross fully over. Dropping the knees to the right. Arms to a T and gazing out to the left. Breathe. And coming back to the middle, just hug those knees in. Again, rocking from side to side. Letting the low back release. Letting it all release. And then bring one leg out. And then the other in front of us on the mat. Shaking this side to side to release the legs and let the feet fall where they may. Scooping those shoulders away from the ears to lie on the shoulder blades. And then just give them a little shimmy to let it all go. Letting our hands fall where they may. Moving the head from side to side to release the neck. Letting that go. Into our final resting pose in Shavasana, where there is nothing more to do, just release. When you're ready, feel yourself coming back into the room, wiggling fingers and toes, moving the head from side to side, breathing deeply. With gaze still soft, just rolling on to one side into a fetal position. Give yourself one last little hug. And gently coming back up to a comfortable seated position. We'll end where we began. Breathing into the belly. Letting it all go. And releasing.